What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show here, Black Power Media. I'm Jared Ball. My man Dajando Smith is joining us. I don't have a proper bio for you, and other than to say that this here is among many other things, a father and a cousin of my man Parrish, who I rocked with in the legendary Western Maryland funk group from 1997 to 1999, Mama's Biscuits. And as an ancillary benefit, I got to meet and even jam once or twice with my man Dajando here, who is an amazing musician, has toured with a lot of performed with a lot of famous people, with a lot of great musicians, not so famous, can beast out on any number of instruments. Dajando, welcome. I appreciate you joining us this morning. Good morning.
Morning, JB. How you doing?
Man, I'm as good as could be expected, man. It's always good to catch up with you. I follow you on Instagram and see all the little clips and stuff and have all these memories.
There.
Let's start with a little bit about what you do as a musician, and then I do want to hear a little bit. Obviously, I'd like you to play some things if we can get a little bit today, a little taste. But I wanted to have you talk a little bit about, from your perspective, what the music industry is and has been, and what it looks like from someone who has crossed paths with some famous and talented musicians, has crossed paths with some less than famous, but equally, if not more so, talented musicians. What is it? I described you even as a session musician. I don't even know if that's fair and accurate, but I've always thought that session musicians were among the best in the world because they have to be able to play with any number of people and adapt and do da-da-da. But that's from from your perspective, and talk a little bit about your career, if you would.
Well, I mean, I've been playing for a long time. I started in 1981, and before that, my first real instrument was guitar. First real instrument. Before that, I would be like the kid that would be at church and would sneak downstairs and there'd be an old rickety piano, and I'd start banging on the keys and stuff till somebody would pull me off it, that kind of thing. And
you were just natural with it. This wasn't like lessons, and you just picked it up and had an ear for it, a skill for it.
It was there, and there was a little bit of guidance. In 7th grade, I started guitar classes and everything like that. And there was a teacher named John Morari, and he brought out this bass. It happened to be a 1962 P bass that belonged to the school, which I found out subsequently that it disappeared. But of course, because it's worth $10,000 now. But he started playing the Barney Miller, and I was like fascinated. And I had already been playing guitar.
Hey, that was a funky bass line, man.
For real though.
For the Barney Miller, the theme song, that was funky.
Yeah, I think that was played by Carol Kay. I think she was a famous, still is. She's still around. Famous session musicians. All the stuff you heard in the 60s and 70s, she played on it. Like the top of the top of the top of the studio session musicians.
Is your bass there? Is it plugged in? You should demonstrate. You should play with the. You should let people know what it sounds like. Are you there? Are you set up to do that? I don't even know if you're set up to do it, but
I mean, I could be.
I mean, you might be. He might be. I think because that was a funky bass line, and I know we just jumping around here a little bit, but that joint was funky.
Yeah, this thing's in tune though. You see, that might not be. Here we go. But it's.
That joint was hot. Oh, so she didn't do all that. I told you.
They didn't put that in there.
They didn't put that in there. But I try to let people know you could play a little bit. But I'm glad you let it. By the way, where are we talking about? Was this in DC, Maryland, Virginia? Where were you? Where were you coming up?
Maryland. Yeah, Maryland. And the thing is that because it's like the Mid-Atlantic region, you have all of these different influences in proximity to that area. Mm-hmm. So of course, I heard brother talking about not knowing about D-Train. Yeah, I had D-Train on CD and all that stuff.
Wow. I figured you would.
And of course Go-Go. And then if you go further north, up into Frederick, there's country and all that stuff. So it's all these, that kind of thing. And so, I've always been a person who's very eclectic in their tastes. So I didn't care. The only thing I would discriminate against is bad music. It was two types. It was good music. It was bad music. Music I liked, music I may not be quite into, but I still had my ear open to it. So that's the kind of thing, that's where I was going, was just having, being open to listening to anything, just about anything.
And then you how did you end up, talk a little bit about how you've developed your career? You've been members of bands, you've been members of other people's bands, what is and maybe talk a little bit about what that's like, this being a session musician, to the extent you've done it yourself or come across others who maybe more fully stayed in that lane.
I think the most important takeaway is how you relate to people, how you carry yourself, how, you're nothing if you're not your reputation, right? So going in and somebody says, well, this may not work, or this might work, they may have a critique, and a constructive critique at that. You have to be open to analyze that and also be self-analytical in order to, to get what the mood is, like the way you may perceive things or how you may want the music may be different from what it actually needs to be. So you have to be open to that in that perspective. And then on an interpersonal level, how you deal and talk to people is very important. It can go very far and wide. Also, it's just kind of proper manners just to treat people like human beings anyway. You know what I mean?
I guess but you also have to, like, even in what you just showed us there, you have to be willing to suppress some of your own talent. I remember I was there, and I would want to hear more about these examples, but I was there at least on one occasion where you were performing with what's my man from Tony, not Raphael Sadiq. What's his name?
Dwayne Wiggins.
That's right. And you were supposed to you were just asked to step in and support his band, I think more or less at the last minute. But there was a moment where you let it be known how talented you were. And I remember the look on his face was like, damn, like what have I done? It was almost like, so on some level, he had to be gracious enough to say, look, I'm supposed to be the headliner, but clearly this brother right here is special. And at the same time, you would have to, on more than one occasion, I'm guessing, be willing to say, I'm not going to shine as much as I know I can, because I got to make this person look good, or I have to sort of, fall back and sink back in within the group. And I guess, I don't know. It seems like it wouldn't be so easy for everybody to do. Like if somebody is really that good,
Well, it's, to be truthful, it's a challenge, because it's like, it's funny. I put up this Instagram video, like they have those memes, and I'm not as technically savvy for like creating my own meme entirely, but I had two different videos, and one is me like playing guitar, like metal guitar, like 64th note, 32nd note triplets, and all this other stuff, like. And then the other one's me just like at a rehearsal or playing somewhere, and it's just me like on the wah pedal, just going wah 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 wah, And one part is like what's in my head, and that's me playing fast and all this. What I'm actually doing on the gig, So yeah, it's kind of like having this big giant fuel tank, right, for like a 4-cylinder engine or something like that, right? You really only need this much.
It's like you putting, what is it, like putting nitrous on a Datsun or something. It's like,
exactly.
What do we, you gonna bust the whole frame trying to, but on one level. So I do want to hear, there are two sort of in a few minutes we have left, two broad questions that I still want to hear you talk more about. One, like, who have you performed with? You know, what maybe some of the names we might know, and maybe some of the others we wouldn't. But then also this bigger question of Black musicians in live instrumentation bands, given what is often, you know, promoted as popularly as strictly supposed to be, you know, turntables and you know, drum machines for popular Black artists, and specifically Black artists who pick up guitars, like the Black rock tradition, that is not always as well known as it should be, or maybe
it really
isn't
is,
as
because
well known.
that's where it starts. That's what the origin of just about all modern popular music comes from Black folks.
Mhm.
Like all of it, like even country.
Mhm.
There's this technique on guitar called Travis picking, and you know what it is do 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 dick do dick. You know, I can do it on my guitar, but there's this guy named Arnold Schultz who actually invented it in Kentucky, black man in Kentucky. And there was a legend that he was killed because the other artists or musicians were jealous, the white musicians or whatever. And it's kind of like one of those apocryphal tales that, you know, you can't really confirm or deny.
And yet I
But that's
immediately believe it.
yeah, because you know, at that time, right? It's like, oh, we can't get that, you know, let him play like that, you know. But they later on they called it Travis picking. But back in the South, you know, they had these thousands of Black bands that would perform like for any function, black and white. They were the ones that you recall, and they would do these different kinds of music, and they had to know everything, you know. And so that tradition goes way back. And then we can go back to like the origins of real rock guitar, you know. We could talk about oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name. Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Okay. She's the quote unquote the godmother of the guitar solo, like that stuff. You know, she started out in gospel and then she got really popular. And then of course we could talk about Buddy Guy. We could talk about, of course, Jimi Hendrix. There wouldn't be any of the modern guitar playing without Hendrix. So just to put that out there.
Just real quick, any revisionism on how great he was? Has or people, has it been any upstarts in the last few years talking about he wasn't as good as he was? Remember, just curious if that has happened to Jimmy in any way.
To be honest, I don't think there's anybody foolish enough to do that because everybody knows better. Because all of his contemporaries, like when he went to England from America, you know, he was struggling. Like most musicians do. He was struggling up in New York, just pawning his guitar and going back and forth. And then I forgot his name, the gentleman from the Animals. He played bass in the Animals. He says, I'm gonna get you to England. First night he went over there with Eric Clapton and all that, and went up on stage and he whipped his, you know. I don't know if I can say that on, but you know.
Yeah, you can cuss here. We don't have a problem with that.
Just trying to be appropriate.
Yeah,
you know,
I hear you.
Okay, so he whooped up on his ass up on stage, and that's when they said like they killed God because Eric Clapton was supposed to be God. Eric
Clapton was God. That's right.
Yeah,
they used to write it on the walls in England. So look, we only have a couple minutes, man. Quickly, two things. Give us some of the names of people you've performed with, and then if you would just play us out on something, let folks get another taste, you know, and then they can of course check you out at Dajando Smith on IG and you know, to hear more. But if you would, you know, give us a little something.
Man. Let's see, Ja Rule, and that was over at 2K9.
No, that's interesting.
Jill Scott, right before she got famous, and there's this event called Groove Gumbo.
Right, that's right.
And so they would have all these artists come into town, you know, and we would play for whoever. You also mentioned Dwayne Wiggins from Tony Tony Tony. There are some people I didn't even know who they were, like for real. I would just get the call, say, hey man, you know, what you doing tonight? Can you come up here and just learn this stuff and like.
And they don't try to sign you and make you permanent members of their band. I mean, I would think that has to happen.
Dwayne. So with Dwayne, after the show, he's like, man, you you from another planet. And I'm
Right.
like, whatever. And I was like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. But he's like, yeah, man, I'll give you a call. But sometimes it happens where people get it, they get the number, and then sometimes they'll call, or sometimes they won't. It just depends. It really just depends. But
well, I think they're nuts. Yeah. But if well, on the one hand, I would say that I could see that everybody would want you to be part of their band, and as we already mentioned, I could see why some would say, "Nah, he's too good. He's going to mess up my spot."
That's a dynamic that I have had to deal with before.
Mm-hmm.
You got to pull it back, and sometimes you may not pull it back enough. So what you're supposed to do is let the main artist let their light shine.
Right.
That's what you're there for. Now, I could be doing like right. That's a simple groove if somebody's singing about it. But if I start going like if you start doing all that, yeah.
Then people start turning their head and start looking at the bass player. They're like, damn.
Or the guitar player, the keyboard player,
whichever instrument you're on. Right. That's right.
Yeah. So it's just kind of learning like where you're allowed to go. And I actually verbally give an option. Like when somebody says, man, go for it, make it funky. I'm like, how far do you want to make it funky? Because there's certain levels to that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we got to go, man. I just want to, I thank you very much for jumping on a little bit this morning. I definitely want to have you back again and get more to see more of what you can do. But if you would, man, just play us out until Sister May takes us into the next segment, and when we bring on Dr. Prosper to get back into the discussion of Haiti. But thank you very much, Dajando, and all the remixes. Good morning, everybody. Back to the remix with Dajando, man. Go ahead, man.